Breaking news, Councillor Ricky Jones cleared of encouraging violent behaviour. Cleared of encouraging violent behaviour. But it's unbelievable. For standing in front of an angry mob and shouting. In fact, can I quote him on YouTube? I'm sure I can't quote him. Let's just blow the quote up. Not like ISIS blow up. Not that way. I mean, make the quote very large. You could be forgiven for thinking it's the former in these wacky times we're living in. If you live under a rock and you didn't see the footage, he was filmed telling an angry mob of socialists to, do that. Quite unequivocal. Now, fortunately, I know that the viewers of this channel are not going to be thick enough to have ever been labouring under the delusion that Ricky Jones was going to go to prison. In fact, I know for a fact no one thinks that, because that's all anyone's been talking about for the last 6 months. I'd go even further than that and assume that nobody that watches this channel is daft enough to be even slightly annoyed by it. So blatant are the double standards of the English justice system. I bet nobody's even pissed off. I bet there's not a single rage boner amongst my audience. Let's see if we can change that, shall we? 2 hours ago, it was reported by the BBC, England flags are being hung by locals in Birmingham, so the council started aggressively taking them all down. Yep, taking them all down. You can't fly the England flag in England, and you can't put the Union flag up either in the country of the Union. You're not allowed to do that. Meanwhile, what do you think the councillors were doing in Birmingham yesterday? Shortly after they just used your money to pay all the council workers to go around town taking all your flags down, stealing your property. What do you think they were doing yesterday?
And I welcome you all to the flag raising ceremony in Pakistan. The Pakistan Day celebration like this reminds us of the strength and the diversity and the unity. In raising this flag, we recognize the rich culture and heritage and tradition and contribution of the Pakistani community.
I bet your blood's boiling now though, isn't it? Right then, obviously this is boring, yawn. We knew this was happening. Nobody who watches this channel, nobody who pays attention to what goes on in the UK is even slightly interested or surprised by this story. So I'll blast through it as quick as I can. It'll be a nice short video today. Two-tier justice row. It's not a row at this point, is it? How is it a row? You mean Exhibit 2936 in this long-going, boring facade where we pretend there's a row, but everyone with eyeballs knows exactly what's going on. It's not a row. Just shut up and read the story. Obviously, the cut there, I mean, again, I don't think you can read that out on YouTube. I don't think you can. We know what he said, and he shouted out loud to an angry mob. Easy. And he was found not guilty of encouraging violent disorder. So there you go. Lawrence Fox, with balls like watermelons, has just outright gone on X this morning, repeated his exact words, said, oh, you know what we should do to Keir Starmer and all of his supporters? Yeah, that. Just 0 F's given. So fair play to him for that. But we all know what happened, and we all know how blatant and brazen it is. So it is boring talking about it, isn't it? The Telegraph reports the decision to clear a Labour councillor who called for their throats, yeah, we know what he called for, has sparked a row. Yeah, sparked a little bit of a row, because people are still discussing whether or not women getting locked up for 3.5 years for tweets and blokes openly encouraging the doing of mass murder. The people are still rowing about that because they're not quite sure whether or not it's a thing. Yeah, cheers easy. Ricky Jones thanked jurors for clearing him after he was accused of encouraging accused, following a viral video in which he said, he didn't even say it would be possibly quite useful if, or maybe we could. He just said, no, we need to. All of us in this big angry mob, and the jury let him off because obviously they did. Because the British legal system and the judges and the lawyers and the thieves and the crooks and the liars and the activists and the politicians and the College of Policing and everybody else involved, even peripherally, with anything to do with the British legal system is now an out communist who hates you, your kids, your grandkids, your flag, your country, and everything that makes you you. So that's what's going on. If you're daft enough to think otherwise, you need to pull your head out your arse. But his acquittal sparked a backlash from Westminster, with Nigel Farage labelling it another outrageous example. Yeah, cheers, Froggy. Yeah, we knew that. Chris Phillip, the Shadow Home Secretary, compared it to the case of Lucy Connolly. Of course he did, who got 31 months for her post. And again, we all know the post. But all she said was, burn these things down for all I care. She didn't say we need to get our hands dirty doing it, did she? And she didn't say it in front of an angry mob either. Miss Connolly was a childminder who had her appeal dismissed in May. 3 appeal court judges, 3 bent judges, 3 political ideologues in daft wigs said that, that definitely wasn't excessive, her sentence. No. Mr. Phillips said it was astonishing that a Labour councillor who was caught on video calling for jugular aeration to be let off scot-free, whereas Lucy Connolly got 31 months in prison for posting something, what do you mean, no worse? Sounds like Mr. Phillips a bit of a pansy as well. No worse? How about nowhere near, not even in the same ballpark, same city, same planet, same galaxy? Absolutely nowhere near it. Worse. What about that? He added, the development of our two-tier justice is becoming increasingly alarming, and it cannot have been a question of uncertain evidence, as the man was on video, clearly calling for violence. Yeah, okay, so I'm not going to read this anymore because it's boring, and you all know it. It's just repeating what we've all seen. Right, no, I'll talk about this instead, because I think at least we can use this for a learning moment and also a rage boner moment, but predominantly learning. Mariana Spring, the professional liar who works for the BBC, you know, the one who just goes on telly and lies all the time, the disinformation correspondent at the BBC, like the Politburo. Yeah, basically the head of the modern day Stasi. So she posted a thing here gleefully talking about how the state will round you up and jail you if you disagree with them loudly in public. All right? Don't even have to be calling for violence. If you've got the right political opinions, you get off with that. Anyway, she posted this story, obviously gleefully informing you all that she was loving life because the hammer of justice comes down aggressively on people that disagree with Mariana Spring, head of the modern Politburo, all right? Anyway, I've been telling you this for months, for years at this point, but you need to hoist this message on board. She wrote here, for Tyler Kay and Jordan Parler, justice for what they posted on social media has come fast and heavy. Yeah, loves that. It's in bold. Get in. She had her wide on while she was typing that, the silly mare. Kay, 26, and Parler, 28, have been sentenced to 38 months and 20 months in prison. Kay got more than 3 years for posting on social media. During the summer riots, not the summer riots, the response to murdered children, the justified and righteous anger that the general public felt because innocent little girls had their lives ended by a Rwandan that the British government imported. That's why it's not during some summer riots. It was a justified response to the killing of children, right? The point is, these blokes and everybody else that keeps getting done is daft enough to plead guilty. I don't know how many times I've told you this in the last couple of years. The old adage about pleading guilty resulting in a lesser sentence harks back to a long-gone era where there was a functioning justice system, and it was to encourage the criminal elements to not waste everybody's time with pointless, lengthy court cases when everybody with a hole in their arse could see some local miscreant was as guilty as sin. But those times are long gone, all right? So if you get nicked in this day and age, shut up, lawyer up, and admit nout, because you're not living in a free country with a functioning legal system. I don't know how to make this any plainer. If Lucy Connolly had have had the good sense to do what Ricky Jones did and go through a jury of her peers, I mean, she might be knackered anyway because we're so screwed. They'd probably just pack the jury with Labour activists. Every one of them would have had purple hair and an arse like the back end of a bus. And Lucy would have been cooked anyway, but at least make them work for it. Never, ever, ever plead guilty to anything in a British court when things are this bad. If that isn't painfully obvious, I don't know what else to tell you. And I'm pretty confident if it was an actual jury of your peers, if a bunch of plumbers and bricklayers and window cleaners was on the jury, there is no way these blokes would have got jailed. Lucy Connolly would have been out there in about 10 minutes. And we wouldn't have just wasted everybody's time with apparently a couple of million absolute half-wits honestly thinking that that little dumpy, fat, baldy commie agitator would have actually ended up in prison. I mean, it's quite ludicrous to people who pay attention. So, that's a summary of today's video. If you're daft enough to get nicked in Starmlin's Britain and end up in the cells, getting the sweats put on you, with a big light shined in your eyes by the members of the Stasi, and Shami Chakrabarti's definitely not going to defend you, is she? She loves talking about human rights. All them wankers from Amnesty International, they love knocking on your door and saying, we care about people's humanity. But they don't care about people's humanity if it's a mother who gets locked up for 3 years for polite disagreement. If the mother doesn't agree with open borders, Marxist Leninism, then they couldn't give a flying shite about it. If you have strong opinions and you sit on the right side of British politics, Shami Chakrabarti would personally wire your piss flaps up to the mains, put a Hessian sack over your head and waterboard you for 3 weeks. These people, it's all a political game to them. So there's a few more caveats. Don't give any money to Amnesty International. Just slam the door in the face when they come round. Don't ever cooperate with the Rozzers. Don't cop a plea deal because you're a maniac if you do. You're not living in a free country. If you're in America, cop a plea deal. If you're in England, grab your ankles and prepare for the worst, okay? Ricky Jones was always going to get off. We knew he was always going to get off. In fact, I don't think I have that much of an issue with it. I have an extremely high tolerance for saying daft shit in public places. The whole reason most right-thinking, right-leaning people have a problem with this is the hypocrisy and the broken justice system. If Lucy Connolly got instantly freed by the police after a mild rebuke, then nobody would even be too bothered about what Ricky Jones said. Because, you know, heat of the moment, he's a commie, so he's pandering to his own crowd. And I don't really think he genuinely was intending to actually go and murder a load of people. I don't. The whole reason everybody wanted to see him in court was because of the glaring hypocrisy, not really what he said. So yeah, the point is probably dozens of, in fact, no, we're up to the thousands at this point, aren't we? Thousands of people have been charged with things they shouldn't have been charged with in the first place because the UK is now a banana republic ran by a bunch of raving lunatics. So, in summary, don't play the game, don't assist the authorities, don't plead guilty to anything. Doesn't matter what it is, nothing. Take from them everything, give to them nothing. Yeah, and also remember that we can link this to the last video. Get on the dole, be a drain on the state. Don't do your civic duty, don't help them, don't assist them, don't plead guilty. Simple. Basically sounds like a shorthand version of the Al-Qaeda training manual that 4 or 5 million regulars at Allen's snack bar in the UK all cling to like a loved one. So so there you go. We're almost in the same boat, aren't we? That's just my opinions, though. If you disagree and you think that you should definitely plead guilty and you should definitely trust the British legal system after the innocent grieving mother's in jail for 3 years and the little dumpy fat knacker who did the throat-slitting hand gestures is free as a bird, let me know in the comments, all right? Because I love reading bollocks in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. I can't do a stream tomorrow because I have to go and visit some elderly relatives. But I will be back on Monday. So stay sane, have a drink, keep laughing. If nothing else, living in a total omni-shambles of a nation is pretty funny. Okay, see you all soon. Tool Pip. Cheers.